And
Welcome,
we're sorry. You go. It's your show. Sorry.
welcome into the Lindsey Beckham Show. It is Friday, fun-filled Halloween Friday, and if you are watching live, you can see that I detest Halloween, so I wore a heart shirt instead. And happier holidays such as Valentine's and Christmas, and I protest Halloween. We are coming to you live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness of Mississippi studios here in the heart of Flora at the Cotton Exchange Plaza. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and X, both Sean's YouTube and my YouTube. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Happy
much.
non-Halloween.
Yeah. Happy Halloween for those of you that love Halloween, like I do. Happy Halloween.
I detest it.
I will.
I rebuke it.
But you are taking the kids.
I rebuke it in the name of Jesus.
That's what we're going to talk about in a little while. You're going to take the kids trick or treating tonight, though, right?
If they're lucky.
I mean, how could you do? They're children. Like this.
I was
this is the
thinking-
argument that we have, y'all. Is Lindsey hates Halloween, but I'm like, you have to like it for the kids because
No,
they
I
love
really
it. You
don't.
Yeah, you do.
No, one of them wanted to be a werewolf, and I said, no, you can be a dinosaur. I thought maybe I could get out of it if I go buy a whole bunch of candy, and I could tell them just walk around the house a bunch of times, and I'll answer the door over and over, and just you still get candy, you still get to dress up, you still get to say trick or treat. We just don't have to go out into the mass evils, satanic, devil worshiping, opening the doors to all the portals of demonic presences that I can't stand.
That's so weird.
No, it's not.
So
It's
weird.
so true.
You're gonna be like, that's like the families that there was those kids when I was in elementary school way back in the 1980s and grew up in Miami where they like didn't celebrate Halloween. You're like, oh, those are the weird kids. You know,
The only ghost I want. The only ghost
you
I
don't
want.
want your kids to be the weird kids, Lindsey. That's what I'm trying to say.
The only ghost I want in my house is the Holy Ghost. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I think it's a fun holiday for kids. Though the one thing my mother was asking me this week, if she's like, how many trick or treaters do you get at your house in Belhaven? I said, well, there's a bunch, but I never know because I turn the lights off on my front porch, and because candy's expensive now with all this
Candy's
inflation.
really expensive.
So,
but candy's always been.
It's always been expensive. Doesn't matter who's president or not. Really.
But you have a uphill driveway that's very narrow. I mean, I'd be worried because it's dark too. I'd be worried about them getting hurt.
Well, I turn it off. It's always a World Series time, and tonight is Game 6 of the World Series, and I'm going to be watching that. So I don't want to open the door for trick or treaters. So not bah humbug. That's Christmas, but as close as you could get to Halloween is what I'm going to do.
You know what I learned today?
What?
So I was actually at Sean's the other night, and he was not there, but I was watching the World Series game because I love baseball, and I finally had to just go home. I was falling asleep because it went so long.
18 innings. 18 innings is amazing.
But you know, the only other World Series game to go 18 innings, the same person sang the national anthem at both of them. Is that not wild?
Really? What was the other game that went 18 innings? I don't remember.
It was another one. It was in 2018. And it was a World Series game that went.
Boston Red Sox year, I think. Yeah.
And Brad Paisley, a country music singer who I love, he has actually performed the national anthem 4 times at World Series.
Don't know who that is either, but okay.
Of course you don't. 4 times at World Series games, and all 4 times it has gone to extra innings. 2 of those being the only 18-inning World Series games ever. I think that's insane.
That's an interesting fact to learn.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow. Well, I hope it won't go that late tonight. But if the Toronto Blue Jays win, they win the World Series tonight. If they don't, it will go to revert to another Game 7. I can't remember if that's tomorrow or Sunday. And these 2 games are in Toronto. So if you're a baseball fan like me, you're excited. It's a great time.
I'd much rather be watching baseball than out there with all the demonic
Let the kids
activities.
enjoy Halloween, y'all. Lindsey needs to let the kids get their candy and just suck it up for one night. It's okay. Anyway,
I don't like it. It gives me a bad feeling.
Anyway, we're here to talk about several things. We've obviously been we are working on the Eddie Williams series, and we'll get to that later about some developments that which direction we're headed with that. It's been kind of a whirlwind of stuff for us, just constant information. It turned into a lot more than we thought it would, or bigger, good in a good way. Not that it was but we are
lots
glad
of new information.
We're glad that it is going so well. We're really excited about the future of that series, and more excited about the future of actually
bringing some justice
to that family. I think that's the most important thing. But we're going to talk about. We talk a lot about I guess you could say what, Lindsey, like cop involved shootings or cop, when police, generally we're always on, I guess I would say this, we're always on the side of the police for the most part. And my background, I was a military police officer in the Marine Corps, then a prosecutor, and now I do criminal defense. But I've just worked with cops my whole life, and I'm just, I'm very partial to them, obviously, and I've just seen so many good police officers, and I think the media portrays them as bad.
Right.
That I'm always out there to try to do what I can, and I know Lindsey feels the same way, to protect them. And I am also part of the PBA Council, where I represent police officers that are involved in different types of criminal actions.
That's a new honor that you just was bestowed upon you.
So I'm all in on that, but
unless it's the Goon Squad or Sean Tyndall.
So
sorry, I threw you off there.
Yeah, sorry. So I generally am going to take the side of the police on most aspects because of that. But I also, when it comes to the proper application of the law, I try to be as objective as I can. And there's a case that happened in Illinois about Illinois a year ago that involves a deputy named Sean Grayson, and he and a partner of his, which is I think his name was like Rowan Fairley or something to that effect. They went to a house of a woman named Sonya Massey, and y'all may have seen this in the news. And she, there's a video of the whole thing where she says something like, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and had a pot of hot water in her hands. And Deputy Grayson thought that she was going to throw the water at him, and he shoots her in the head. Well, anyway, he was just convicted of what's called second-degree murder in Illinois just a few days ago after a trial. And where in this trial, and we'll go through that, even his partner testifies against him. So, this is one of the instances, I guess real briefly, that I would say that I'm like, no, I think the jury got it right against this police officer, because I don't think that he acted correctly at all, having looked at the video and the testimony in the case so far. Now, Lindsey just got a chance to look at it. We looked at it several times last night. And what this video depicts, everybody, is a woman named Sonya Massey called the police because she thought there was like a prowler or an intruder. Now, if you watch the video,
I have mixed opinions about it.
No, okay, we get to yours too. I mean, she obviously appears to be some sort of mental issue. Would you say, Lindsey, something like that?
Either she's on some sort of drugs, or there really is a big problem. But she calls the police because she says there's an intruder, or
like a prowler or intruder. That's what she says.
Yeah. And so they get there and they're talking to her, and they can tell obviously something is not right.
Yeah, she looks crazy. Let's just say it. She looks a little crazy.
She sounds crazy.
She sounds crazy. You watch the video, she sounds like she's kind of crazy.
And so at one point it looks like they're going to leave, but then they stop and ask her about a black SUV that's in her driveway and whose it is. And she says, "I don't know. Somebody just came and parked it there." And so that makes them kind of think maybe we shouldn't leave yet. And so they go inside and they're asking her for her ID. And then she gets up and goes to the kitchen and she had a pot on the stovetop, I guess, water that she was boiling. And from there it gets out of control.
Yeah, what you'll see, and if you can, everybody can Google the video. I was going to try to play it for our online audience, but there's too much profanity that we'd get cut off on the air, and I was like, okay, that's not a good idea. But so the officer, one of the deputies, and Deputy Grayson, who's actually ends up being the shooter of the man that was convicted, are in there talking to her. The other deputy, Fairley is his name, walks away from her while she's in the kitchen grabbing the pot of hot water. Now, she's not grabbing the pot in it didn't seem like a threatening manner. What comes across as slightly threatening is the fact she says, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," which does sound like you're going to do something. I mean, it does sound like that.
Well, so the cop that didn't shoot, he is the one who initially backs away, and she says, "Where are you going? Where are you going?" And he said, "I'm getting away from the scalding hot water."
But at that point, it didn't sound like there was any threat, because he was laughing as he said it. You could hear him laughing as he said it. As he said that.
Well, I kind of took it as he was laughing because she's crazy and he's afraid she might actually throw the water at him.
Right. And this is the deputy that didn't shoot. Now, the other deputy is standing there, Sean Grayson, and she says, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And he says, "You better not. I'll shoot you in the effing face." That's what he says to her. And then
we don't see, because the cop that shoots doesn't have a body cam on. Now, the one that has stepped away does, but he turns away. And so we miss a few seconds of whatever the interaction is, but he's telling her to put it down, and she drops to the ground.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think you could see that part pretty clearly from what I'm watching it, where
there's a few seconds you don't.
Well, I mean, he's telling her to put it down. He's got his hand on his gun and pulls his gun out. She drops to the floor and says, I'm sorry. And she's on the ground. I mean, and she's on the ground, and then he goes around and then he shoots her in the head. That's what you can see in the video. So
we don't see there's a few seconds we don't see right before that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think
when he's telling her, put it down. So I don't know if she kind of made a motion that she was going to throw the water at him.
It doesn't appear like that to me from what I'm looking at. I mean, and then he doesn't fire at that point. He fires when he walks to the side and she's on the ground. She's already below the kitchen cabinets at that point.
And obviously we can't see that part because she's the cabinets.
Yeah, but he's walking towards her though. You know, he's walking towards her. Like under no circumstances did he need to shoot her at that point.
No, I mean, I don't think he should have shot her. You know? I think he probably regretted it instantly. You can tell
now he does, for sure. You know,
you can tell the conversation they're having after the shooting. You know, he's kind of saying, of course, there's some explicit language, but he's sounds like crap. You know, crap. What did I do? You know, that kind of that kind of tone in his voice. And the other cop, the one that did not shoot, says he's going to go get a kit, something, I guess, to some first aid.
Right.
And he says, no, it's not going to do any good.
Yeah. I mean, it's a headshot, so it's not going to be doing any good. But I think, you can see, like, from this video clearly, like, she does drop to the ground. He goes, then he shoots. Like, that's the motion of the whole thing right there. So she's not in the act of throwing this pot when he fires. Like, she's not in the act of doing that at all. She is on the ground at that point below, and then he shoots her in the head. I don't know how in any world that's a justified shoot from what.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just don't understand kind of what was going through his mind at that moment, like why he thought he was in such grave danger that he needed to shoot.
And I mean, the other thing that we found out about him, he was dismissed from like 4 or 5 other law enforcement agencies, and he was actually kicked out of the Army. It was a general discharge, not a dishonorable one. Doesn't say the specifics for that, but he's had a checkered past. The guy has had a very checkered past.
I wonder if he's just quick to reaction. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It certainly seems like it was unjustified.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you have to be completely quick. I don't even know what the reaction was. He could have walked back out the door. I mean, it's nothing that would have seemed that she was. I mean, I could see even if she was in the act of throwing the pot on him or like pushing her and he got out of the way, but she's on the ground when he does that, when he fires.
Yeah, when he tells her to drop it, she drops to the ground and you can hear her say, I'm sorry.
And then he shoots her.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Did we ever find out what was wrong with her? What?
I don't know what something. I mean, obviously it looked like something. I don't know what specifically though. If she was diagnosed with any specific mental condition, I don't know that.
And it
seems like she would have been.
The house is it looks like one of these houses that you see on Hoarders.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously crazy. There ain't no doubt. I mean, you don't like say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, just standing there to some cops and you're totally normal. I mean, obviously.
While holding a pot of hot water.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand the point in her saying that, but I didn't understand the point of anything she said through the whole video. She just seems maybe schizophrenic.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. But I think the point of the matter, whether she's crazy or not, there wasn't a point where he was in danger, where she was on the ground to go over there and shoot. Now, I'll make this, and we can talk about this next segment, but this is different than when we're talking about the Capitol Police case, when you got a car heading towards you and you shoot the guy in the car. Well, that makes complete sense.
A car that already bumped.
Yeah.
A car behind it.
Right.
Yeah, the language that they're using, these people.
Yeah. So there's just different scenarios, and we'll analyze all of that. But it's an interesting case. Well, Deputy Grayson was convicted of second-degree murder. I'm going to get into explaining what that is, the difference between that and first-degree murder, here on the next segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Hold tight. Verdict in Illinois. I know we've got enough verdicts here in Mississippi, but we decided to pull this one out because it was kind of a high-profile case. When you say, Lindsey, with the whole hot water stuff.
Yeah, it was. I was telling you, I remember seeing the video. I'd kind of forgotten about it, but when it initially happened, it was a big deal in the media.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge one. But he was real quick. Deputy Grayson was convicted last week of second-degree murder in Illinois for the shooting of Sonya Massey, who his defense was that he perceived that she was a threat she was going to throw pot of scalding hot water on him. The jury disagreed with that. And they had the choice between, I think, first degree and second degree. They went with second degree. The difference between, and that's been as a big point of contention, where the family of Miss Massey was saying, why isn't it first degree? Why isn't first degree? And I think sometimes, Lindsey, like people just, they don't really necessarily understand the differences between degrees of murder and what what the media calls, they'll call first degree premeditated murder. They keep saying premeditated. And I think people think when you say that, they think that you've like thought about killing somebody for months or weeks or whatever, and you planned it out. That's premeditation. Well, that's not really it. Deliberate design murder is what it's called here in Mississippi, and that's premeditation. And the law says that you can form that intent in just a matter of moments, but for an instant, it's the actual legal words that are used in the case law. And so like, I could just be sitting here thinking, running this board and saying, you know what, I'm gonna shoot Lindsey, and then I shoot her and kill her. And that's a first degree murder.
Probably wanted to.
Yep. There are some times when you say things on air, I do want to, but yeah, so that would be considered a deliberate design first degree murder. I didn't have to be thinking about killing Lindsey for weeks or months, even though maybe I have in the past. But do
y'all all hear this, right? I mean, this is on air.
But that's not required for first degree murder.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is a legal question. So initially, Grayson was charged with 3 counts of first degree murder. Why then was he convicted of second degree murder, and why 3 counts?
I can't answer that on the 3 counts because I can just speak to Mississippi law. We don't have that many counts of murder on first degree.
It was just one person.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the way they charge things in Illinois. A lot of states are different. They just have the way they charge certain crimes. You couldn't do that here.
In Mississippi, can you charge someone with first degree murder and then end up convicting them of second degree?
100%, but you would do that during the trial. You would introduce what's called a lesser included jury instruction. So second degree.
Oh, I know about that from Karen Reed.
Right, and then you know about it from the case that we tried, where we can introduce a lesser, that was capital murder, and you can introduce a lesser included instruction. So second degree murder would be a lesser included of first degree murder. And I assume that's what the defense did here. Actually, I think I read that they did, which is a smart strategy. What the defense is going to want to do is they're going to want to mitigate the jury's verdict for a lesser total sentence for their client. That's what they were successful at doing that here. And the difference between it with second degree in Mississippi, what it is, it's committing an act or involved in an act so eminently dangerous as to evince what is called a depraved heart. Now, I know that's confusing. What does evincing a depraved heart mean? But that means, like, I'll give you an example of that would be driving down Highway 49 that's in front of us here at 120 miles an hour, drunk out of your mind, and then you kill someone. Now you think, okay, well, that's aggravated DUI, but it's also a depraved heart murder. There was a case years ago that we had in our office with a very famous socialite, Karen Irby. Everybody seems to know.
On my way to Orlando, I sat next to someone that works for that company, and he was telling me all about all the details
about the Karen trial. Yeah, when we had that. So I was involved in some of that, and we eventually did indict Miss Irby for depraved heart murder. She was driving at high rate of speed down Old Canton Road and killed those 2 doctors back in 2009. You would think, okay, well, that's also an aggravated DUI, and that's true. But it does. The maximum penalty of that is 25 years. Depraved heart murder is life if affixed by the jury. So that's kind of the way we were looking at it at that point.
But her husband was evidently or allegedly beating her at the same time or something along those lines.
Now, that is what was said. I don't know of any independent evidence that ever existed that that's true, except for what Karen Irby said. That's always been a point of contention with me, that they that was during when she pled guilty. I think if I remember, she pled guilty to manslaughter, and the victim's family was repeating things because she had said that Stuart Irby was beating her. Now, I don't know of any independent evidence that proves that one way at all that I ever saw. And I worked pretty closely with the main lead prosecutor, who was a friend of mine on that case. So I don't know. I think that was kind of her way of mitigating what had happened, but I never saw anything that proved what she was saying. I think what it was, she was driving super fast down that road, and she was drinking, and then she went in that lane and killed the 2 doctors in that fiery wreck.
You prosecuted on that case?
Yes.
And then Tony he defended her?
No, he did not. He was, I think she was defended by Joe Holloman, who you've met as a friend of mine. And Patrick Beasley was the lead prosecutor on that case.
What did Tony do in that case?
That was a civil case. That was a civil portion of it.
Gotcha.
Right? And I think that's kind of why that theory had gotten out there, or at least that's my assumption, is that Stewart was beating her because that would maybe open up some civil liability for the Irbies or whatever. I think that was kind of the thought process behind that. At least that's what we speculated at the DA's office.
So that's kind of why the doctors that got killed, their families were okay with kind of letting her off because they would have gotten the payout from the civil.
Yeah, I mean, that's my assumption. I don't know that to be fact, but
I
that's
mean, just
the way
looking at it, and
that's the way it came across. Yeah, we felt that like they were that was said to attach some civil liability for sure. Because I mean, I don't remember, and I'll have to ask Patrick because he was way more familiar with everything on that than I am.
We should do a show about. We should.
I should actually get Patrick in here and he can explain that because he was pretty angry at the time, and I remember that.
I bet Tony would come in too.
Yeah, now the two of them together probably would be a good idea. From what I remember of that time, I don't recall the independent evidence that Stewart was beating her, other than Karen Irby said that. Now I'm going to double check that after the show because I just don't remember. But I don't remember ever seeing that except for what she said. So that's as far as. But I'm going to double check because I'm interested now that we're talking about that.
And he's dead now.
Yeah, I think he killed himself around 2012
after she was convicted, or after she got out of jail. When she was getting out of jail,
I think her sentence was commuted by Governor Barber. So, and that was right. That was about the same time.
I think it was right when that happened. Well, and in this case, the one that we're talking about out of Illinois, where this cop was just convicted of second-degree murder, the family was awarded $10 million. Yeah. And they did pass new laws in Illinois to do stricter background checks on law enforcement, which I think is great. I think we need that everywhere.
That's terrific. I didn't know that part. I knew the civil part. I didn't know that they had actually passed laws on that.
It's called the Sonya Massey law.
Okay, well, look at this guy, and I know that he had got dismissed from about 4 to 5 other agencies in a short period of time, and then was hired by this sheriff's department. You would think they would have done a better background check on him.
My initial reaction is that this man just acted rashly. I watching it and hearing the way he sounds after it, I don't believe like he walked in there and said, "I want to kill this woman" in his mind.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he just. And that's probably why, I don't know, I haven't looked into his background or what he got in trouble for prior to this, but it seems like he just reacted far too quickly instead of kind of taking some deep breaths and let's see how things play out before we shoot somebody and kill them.
Yeah, I think though, I mean, don't you think most murders happen? I used to say that when I was at the DA's office. I'd say nobody gets up in the morning unless it's a really premeditated thing, and says, "Man, I'm going to kill somebody today." That's usually not what happens when somebody gets murdered.
And why shot to the head? Like, why not shoot her in the arm where she's holding, so she drops the pot, if that's what he's truly scared of? Why shoot her in the head?
I mean, she was on the ground when he shot her, so maybe that was the part of her body that was sticking out there, easiest for him to hit.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it posed no threat at that point. It appeared to me in that.
Yeah, it certainly didn't appear that way.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that he was acting over rash.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah,
and I think that I'm glad you brought up the Sonya Massey law, because I think that is a good. I mean, look, in every profession, there's bad people. There's just bad people in anything you do. And unfortunately, like, all these other police officers get painted with this guy who's obviously got a track record of having problems,
which makes their job that much more dangerous.
And it's not, and it's not fair to them. Like we've talked about the Capitol Police case with Michael Reinwald and Stephen Frederick endlessly. Those two guys, like, they don't have anything to do with somebody like Sean Grayson, who's got some problems, and didn't do anything like that. They were just trying to save their own lives. Grayson was not saving his own life. He was acting like an idiot.
But far too many times we see cops get in trouble for something and then lose their job, but they just go to another precinct or another department, a county over, and get a job immediately.
Yeah, that's true. That happens.
That happens all the time.
And so, I mean, maybe we need, I don't know, Lindsey, you're the legislative person. Maybe you should talk to your legislator buddies and see if that's something possible.
Look, I'll change a law in a heartbeat.
I mean, I think it's a good time for it too. I mean, you brought up the goon squad, after what we just saw happen here, that it became, just a horrible thing and a national embarrassment for the state. I think that's a good time for that. Of
course, I believe wholeheartedly they were being protected.
Yeah.
Instead of being fired, they were being protected by, in my opinion, they were being protected by their sheriff over there.
Yep, and that seems to be the opinion of a lot of people. So, and we're going to talk. Actually, I want to get into Deputy Grayson's partner's testimony, which is really interesting. First time I've ever seen somebody's partner testify against them in a law enforcement capacity. That's not something that usually happens, but we'll talk about that if y'all stay tuned for the next segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Be right back. Where Mr. Grayson was a former deputy and convicted of second-degree murder of Sonya Massey in a case where he had attempted to explain his shooting for the fact that he was in fear for his life or safety, that she was going to throw a pot of boiling water on him. And we've been going through that whole case this hour. Lindsey at the break was just talking about his partner's testimony. What were you saying, Lindsey? So he's got a partner that was with him. If you watch the video, and everybody can go out there and look at this video and you can see what we're talking about in this situation. And the partner he's kind of, I guess you would say, behind Deputy Grayson.
Yeah, the partner is the first to back up.
Yeah.
When she's getting the water off the stove, he's the first to back up. The partner also does grab his gun and point it as well.
But that's what you do when your partner pulls his gun.
And that's what his testimony was, that he never really felt threatened by this woman, and that the reason he became more, I guess, on edge was because of his partner's reaction.
Well, I think you could see that's a good point, because you could see his partner, the one that Grayson, who was convicted, the way he approaches it before he ever pulls his gun. He says, "I'm going to shoot you in the effing face."
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't seem like the appropriate thing to say at that point.
She said, "I'll rebuke you in the name of Jesus," and he says, "You better not." I don't know what that means. What was he not? What did she say that was? How was that a threat?
Well, I think what he was thinking, my guess is that when you say, you've seen movies and stuff where it says, "I rebuke you in the name of," somebody throws like water or whatever, like, "I rebuke you." Like, I don't know. I've seen it in movies. And so I kind of got
what that's why I don't watch those kind of movies.
Yeah, I kind of got what he was saying there, but his response to it was, "I will shoot you in the effing face." The way he did, I felt like he could have said, "Okay, ma'am, look, you better drop that right now and have, hand on his gun," or whatever. Now, once he pulled his gun, I mean, she dropped to the dang deck as quick as you could and said, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." Then he goes around and he shoots her in the face. So he was already approaching it in a weird sort of manner that I don't think was necessary for the situation. It wasn't like he was on the street and some dude had a gun is pointing at it. It just wasn't that situation. It was a lady in her bathrobe that was kind of away from him, And
I don't understand his thought process of going straight to, "I'm going to shoot you."
Yeah.
Because, not only is this woman's life over and many lives ruined, her family, but this man, the shooter, Grayson, he's 30 years old. He's got a fiance. Was supposed to marry in October. He also was recently diagnosed with colon cancer. And so
at 30?
Wow. And so, this is going to ruin not just her family, so many lives in her family, but his as well. And probably the partner who's witnessed all this and is distraught over it and having to testify against another cop. That's not easy to do either. So lots of lives ruined here.
Well, that was what I was going to say too. I mean, in all my years practicing law and all the cases where I've seen police be on trial, it's rare that you see a partner testify.
You don't turn on your brothers.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I'm not doing it. Like, I'm just like, "Yep, didn't see nothing." That's just kind of, I mean, it has to be my point is, it has to be that egregious, that bad, where you were like, "Dude, this was messed up." And I think you could tell even in the video that guy felt that way. Like, and in that instance, all kidding aside, I would have felt that way too. I was like, "Man, you did not have to shoot this lady in the face. Like, this was not appropriate." And I don't know how there's any other way to take that. Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't. I wonder if there was any kind of plea negotiation where he was offered something reasonable. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe the state never offered him something where he could have, it would have taken. But
here's the kicker: he had worked at 6 law enforcement agencies since 2020. So in the past 5 years, he's been at 6 different agencies. He was hired at all 6 departments after being charged with 2 DUI misdemeanor offenses, one in 2015, one in 2016. But his personnel file also shows several deficiencies in his workplace performance. They said that he has not demonstrated good officer safety skills, obviously.
Yeah.
One of the departments said that he needs more training. Another department said
he's going to get some now.
Yeah, they believe he needs more extensive training. His psychological evaluation, they said that they noted that he knows he can move too fast at times. He needs to slow down to make good decisions. So, I mean, this was kind
These are
of
all the other
documented, all the other departments in his personnel file. So this has kind of been documented over time that he makes very rash decisions.
Wow. So they had this information when they hired him,
right?
And they put him out on the street with a gun when they're like the other departments were saying, hey, and the departments had let him go. Is that correct?
Yes, they let him go.
How many was it now?
6.
6 departments had let him go, and he's only 30 years old.
Yeah, he's 30. Records from the Logan County Sheriff's Office, meanwhile, said he needed to take high-stress decision-making classes. So this is a consensus across the board. And why are we continuing to hire? I mean, I guess that was the reason for this new law in Illinois, because these different departments continue to hire him, even with a very long list in the past of how he cannot make good decisions in these high stressful moments.
That's a good list of information. I couldn't find the it was 6. I thought it was 4 6 departments. And he also
6 and 5 years.
And he also was got a general discharge from the Army for serious misconduct is what it says. I mean, this guy should never have been a cop. I mean, it seems obvious this guy should never have been a cop, never been put in that place to do that. And
he needs to have a desk job.
or just not be in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And he can go do something else, right?
Or put him on paperwork. I mean,
now he's looking at 4 to 20 years. I don't know what their percentage of that you would have to serve in Illinois.
When is his sentencing?
In January 26th, I believe is what they said. Right. So we'll find out in January what he's going to be sentenced to. In Mississippi, if you're sentenced to a second-degree murder, it's between 20 to 40 years if the judge sentences you. The jury is the one that can affix a life sentence. So the jury can do that on second-degree murder charge. But as far as I know, they can't. The jury is the only one. If you're convicted of second-degree murder in Mississippi, the jury is the only one that can sentence you to life.
So they already would have done that, right?
Well, I don't know what Illinois law is in relation to that. It may be that they don't have it written that way. Like it's just because
that's how Mississippi is.
Yeah, that's how Mississippi is. So that's the only I can really speak to. I don't know. It looks like Illinois has got a bunch of little different things, and I think the max here, what I read, was 20 years. So that may be all they have there. The jury's not able to do that, but here they are. And if they can't agree on life, then the judge can sentence you between 20 to 40 years. And there's been some conflict with that because they haven't been able to determine necessarily if that's day for day time, which means you have to serve every day of it, or it's like manslaughter where you're going to serve 50%. Like Mississippi, if you get convicted of manslaughter, you only serve half of that sentence. So 20 years is the max you would serve. You could potentially be out in 10 years. Right now, depraved heart murder, you have to serve every day of it as far as the calculations that I know that are out there that you have to do. But I think the legislature is tinkering with that or planning to. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, Mr. Grayson is going to be sentenced again in January, and we'll see how that goes. I hope it does not look bad on every single cop. But I do think if cops do act up like Mr. Grayson and the Goon Squad, they need to be held accountable.
And not only just the cop that committed the act, but I mean, I think these departments that are in charge of hiring, of course, Massey's family, rightfully so, they hired lawyers and they called for the county to investigate the decision to hire him, voicing concerns about his arrest record and his working for 6 different departments in 4 years. 4 years, 6 departments.
Right. That's
that he was let go of. So, obviously there's a problem here. And why are the administrations and HR departments in these different law offices hiring people with this kind of record?
Yeah, I don't know, Lindsey. Like I said, maybe here you can check into the to possible new laws on that. We'll see. Before we got a few minutes left on this segment, and then we'll have the last short segment. But I know I wanted to, and you wanted to talk about the Eddie Williams series that we've been doing. If y'all been tuning into that, we've been on that for the last couple months. Eddie Williams was the young man that was killed in 2002 by being burned up in a Porsche close to the Old Timeout Bar on Old Canton Road. The 2 men arrested for that were James Mitchell and Matt Weghurst. Mr. Weghurst was killed in a DUI auto wreck about 3 years ago. Mr. Mitchell is still above ground. And so we've been working on that and why they were presented to the Hinds County Grand Jury many, many years ago. The case was no billed, which means dismissed, but can be represented. And Lindsey and I have been working on this. We've done 4 episodes. We've interviewed a bunch of witnesses. We're interviewing more. We've hired private investigators, and we are working on that case. So I know that people have reached out to me while in the last couple of weeks, like when's episode 5, and we're I guess I don't want to speak for you, Lindsey, but we want to make sure that everything. We're not just pumping out episodes just for the sake of pumping out
Right.
episodes. We don't want to
we want to have factual information, and we have people that we are talking to, new people that have come forward that have messaged you or I or both of us, and want to talk about what they remember from that night. And so we are in the process of doing that. But again, we want to make sure that we're not just, because obviously it's not just for content that we are doing this. We truly do care about this case and hope to bring some sort of justice to this family. It's been far too long. And so we want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and that we're bringing completely factual information.
That's right. And we're actually going to work on, we have a podcast room built in my house, and we're going to compile a lot of the information from the first 4 episodes and put them into
like a
one long form podcast, kind of easier for everybody to follow along.
Commercial free.
Yeah. Commercial free, and a little bit different than doing on the radio and live time. So we're going to have it'll be a little more detailed and whatnot. But we will discuss the rest of that on the last segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Stay tuned. And that Lindsey will be enjoying taking the kids out tonight and trick or treating, get all the candy and stuff. But
I think it's gonna be too cold. Maybe we'll stay in.
And it's kind of cold. It's kind of cold in here right now, so, which is nice. Finally, it's
I know.
It's not 150 degrees, so I'm okay with that. But we were talking about where we were going with our Eddie Williams series, which if any of y'all paid attention to that, we've done 4 episodes so far. We're working on number 5. Hopefully that'll be up sometime next week or the week after. We are going to compile that in a podcast studio. Well, the podcast studio is my house, and Lindsey and I did turn a room of my house into it actually looks like a professional. She did it more than I did. She put up all those little.
That was not fun.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. But I paid for all the stuff. That's what I did. And so we're gonna try to make it flow a little better for everybody that wants to catch up on that and see how this thing goes. And I think
we got a new camera. We hadn't even played with it yet.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm going to do all that stuff. So, I mean, we're really excited about it. It's turned into a lot of things that we didn't necessarily when it was brought to us by the unnamed Jackson politicians that we were not naming, but they're out there that brought it to us. We didn't expect all the information to shake out quite this quickly, and things that have happened. And it really makes you wonder how there hasn't been a conviction in this case in 23 years. It's just shocking to me.
I think people, I hate to say it helps that one of them is deceased now, but I think it does make people more apt to talk or willing to speak on things now that one of the suspects, I guess if you call him a suspect, I mean, he was a suspect at some point, is deceased.
Right. He is deceased now. And so we've developed a new information, and we're just hoping that this leads to a possible future indictment of someone, maybe multiple people, who knows. And we'll see where it goes. And it's been very positive, and it's interesting to see, especially from my perspective, having been in the DA's office for as long as I was, cases like this that when you're in there, you don't really look at like who's not getting judged. There's so many cases. It's just not in your head. You've got so much work to do. But now that I'm on the outside, I'm kind of seeing like, man, if somebody, if this thing was put together right, I'm not blaming the DA's office by any means at all. It seems like it could have been put together, and this could have been resolved a long time ago. It's one of the simplest cases I think I've ever seen, actually, in terms of, simplicity, who I think did it, and what the evidence was. It's just like there's so much evidence out there that I don't know how the target was missed, but it was.
We will be back, or I will be back Monday. I'll have Rance Bilbo from the GOP on the day before the elections. We'll break down the elections and why Mississippi needs school choice, why the Republican Party is supporting that. And I got to throw that in there.
Of course. And
Monday.
I'll see y'all next week sometime too. Bye.
Bye.